Apple has banned an app that simply archived videos of ICE abuses, according to 404 Media, and I am not supposed to say anything about that. Got a relatively friendly email from a listener last week who says they've been listening for about 18 years, but lately they're tired of hearing me get on my hobby horse. My hobby horse. They invoke their military service, sincerely, thank you for that, and their service in the federal government, sincerely, thank you for that, as reasons I should shut the up. Go back to just talking about Apple. Make my show great again. Ha ha. I was encouraged to not say anything about things I may not know about. In response to the stories last week about Apple removing the ICEBlock app, the email said, I have no idea, but neither do you about the shutting down of the app that might be threatening ICE members. I don't know, but maybe those migrants who were shot by a sniper who'd used apps to track ICE movements, maybe that's the information that was offered to demand it be taken off the App Store. Maybe Apple's doing its civic duty. Maybe. And maybe you have no idea, so maybe we can get back to being okay not understanding some things and just reporting on them. I don't talk about politics on this show nearly as much as I talk about and think about and read about politics in real life. I talk about politics on this show when it crosses into Apple or tech territory. And that river runs both ways. In responding to the PRISM tracking scandal about a decade ago, President Obama was, in my opinion, disingenuous in his response, and I said so. President Biden's FTC chair, Lina Khan, overreached, in my opinion, on Apple and tech, and I said so. When Apple stood against the FBI in the San Bernardino case, I was glad the company was working to protect the privacy of the average citizen, and I said so. Apple is taking political action without explanation. Before it was officially mandated, Apple Maps changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, no explanation. Apple regularly lets the current president claim credit for things with which the current president had no involvement, no correction. Apple TV Plus pulled a show about a detective working to stop domestic violent extremists from acting here in the States. Based on a true story, Apple spent millions making that show only to shelve it with, surprise, no explanation. Last week, Apple pulled apps that notified users about immigration and customs enforcement activity in their area. ICEBlock got most of the press, though there was at least one other similar app removed by both Apple and Google. And yeah, I guess I could talk about the fact that Google did the same thing, but this isn't a Google show, and besides, I don't expect as much from Google. 404 Media says the removal of ICEBlock and the other app came after direct pressure from Department of Justice officials acting at the direction of Attorney General Pam Bondi, according to Fox. A statement the Department of Justice provided to 404 Media said the agency reached out to Apple demanding they remove the ICEBlock app from their App Store, and Apple did so. Fox says authorities have claimed that the suspected shooter of an ICE facility in September in which a detainee was killed searched his phone for various tracking apps before attacking the facility. That may be, and certainly the email I quoted earlier suggested as much. I'd like to see proof, or at least hear that Apple has seen proof or pushed back a tiny bit. Because you can make a case for Apple building a backdoor into the San Bernardino shooter's phone a decade ago as well, and yet Apple pushed back on that. So I got the email I mentioned last week, and I sat on it. Wasn't sure whether I was going to address it, though I guess I had to know that it was just a matter of time before Apple, as it is today, did something that would prompt me to address it. Something like banning an app that simply archived videos of ICE abuses. According to 404 Media, Apple removed an app for preserving TikToks, Instagram Reels, news reports, and videos documenting abuses by ICE. The app, called Eyes Up, differs from other banned apps such as ICEBlock, which were designed to report sightings of ICE officials in real time to warn local communities. Eyes Up was more of an aggregation service, pulling together information to preserve evidence in case the material is needed in the future in court. The developer of Eyes Up, a guy named Mark who withheld his last name because who can blame him, he says our goal is government accountability. We weren't even doing real-time tracking. I think the administration is just embarrassed by how many incriminating videos we have. Now, I was chastised by my emailing listener for commenting on things about which I don't know. Nature abhors a vacuum, dude, and Apple keeps making those and leaving them. Apple did not respond to a request for comment on Wednesday about Eyes Up's removal, according to 404 Media. I have also reached out for comment, a request I feel certain will go unanswered. So what are we left with then? A company taking action without explanation, except to say that it's at the behest of an administration that both promises and boasts of radical transparency. Radical transparency is why an app that gathers video of what they're doing has been taken down. Yet we don't know why Eyes Up was taken down. I would encourage Apple to say why, to explain. The way Apple explained why Flash was never going to be on iPhone, why it was enacting so-called child safety protection features, then why it pulled back on those so-called child safety protection features. The way it's explained repeatedly why the EU's Digital Markets Act is bad as far as it's concerned. Do they have to explain? They do not. But I would encourage them to do so. Because without answers, it just gets more and more questionable. One more thing. After nearly 20 years, you think I'm talking politics because it's fun? Spoiler, it's Apple News. I have always had opinions on Apple News and offered those opinions, and if you miss that, I don't know what to tell you. But I do plan to keep telling it the way that I do. Talk to you tomorrow.